Ladies and gentlemen, Tua Tagovailoa. One thing for certain, he's injured, but he didn't ask us about his future. And we'll be right back in 30 seconds.
Ladies and gentlemen, I'd like to welcome you to the Scoreboard Keepers. You're around here, we don't keep receipts. We keep the score. So if you want to get on the board, make your point. If it makes sense, we'll add it to the board. If it don't, we won't. Scoreboard Keepers.
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to another episode of Scoreboard Keepers. I am your host, the Ref, and as you can see, we always got a topic on the board. We always have a topic on the board. And today's topic is a touchy one. It's a touchy one because we have a lot of people commenting on the game of football that obviously have never played it. We have some commenting on the game that have played it and now are outside of the game looking in, but yet never would have done what they're suggesting that this man should do without even having all the information, all the facts, just looking at this man and making a judgment on what they think is best for this man. Now, as y'all all know, Tua Tagovailoa suffered an injury against the Buffalo Bills as he ran headfirst into Damar Hamlin. Okay. The first thing that I saw, the first thing that struck me that was surprising is that Tua was sliding head first. So that's not a slide, that's a dive. That's a dive, people. Quarterbacks are supposed to be taught to slide as if you're sliding in the home plate. That's what a slide is. That's what a slide is. But what I'm having an issue with is that there's a lot of people watching the game now, and they have been so used to this 7-on-7 style of football is that they don't remember a certain play, a certain style of football where a quarterback sliding was of the utmost importance. A quarterback dropping down to where he's not even going to be tackled. It's almost like surrendering. A quarterback almost would just give up and surrender his position in order to not take any type of lethal hits. Now, what I'm saying to you is that there was a time where a quarterback leaving a pocket, more times than not, that quarterback was going to get injured. So the team would suggest that the quarterback slide or drop down. Now these quarterbacks are challenging these players that are in the defensive backfield. When they and it's just not one quarterback. These quarterbacks now have some size on them where they think that they can leave this pocket, and the quarterback that's coming right to my mind who's doing a lot of this is Josh Allen of the Buffalo Bills. Josh Allen of the Buffalo Bills is notorious for this type of behavior of leaving the pocket, getting downfield, and then the commentators are talking about, wow, look at this guy. He is an absolute monster. He is an absolute beast. They start giving him all the kudos in the world. When we know that prior to them almost dismantling the safety position, like Brian Dawkins, Steve Atwater, Ronnie Lott. I mean, I can go down a line. I can go down a line of generals that were on that field in that defensive backfield where it was a no-fly zone. And they were all about the hurt game and all about punishing you. Where you knew that if you left that pocket, that you better get down as soon as possible and not get down the field after breaking the pocket and challenging these players. Why? Because you want to preserve your quarterback at all costs. If your quarterback can almost put a flag on his hip, you would actually prefer that before a quarterback goes downfield and start challenging these players. And not to mention leading head first. There was a time when I'm not sure of the actual stat, but all I know is that if a quarterback left the pocket too many times, the chances of him being hurt were a lot higher than it was if he stayed inside. So this is what I'm saying inside of the game that I'm having issues with. I haven't gotten to the comments yet, which we're going to get to. And when I say the comments, I mean these commentators from different platforms and suggesting what this man should do with his future. We're going to get to that in a minute. Right now, let's talk about what's going on in the game. The game is RPO style, okay? So quarterbacks are more prone to run. They have the option to do it. And somehow they're doing it so much that they forget that they're not a running back. They get downfield and they forget that they are a quarterback. They have forgotten the rules that no matter where you start to go down at, you're not getting the ball where you end up sliding. Wherever you start giving up your forward progress, that's where the ball's going to be spotted. So the extra sliding is not even worth anything because the ball is going back to where you gave up your position, where you initially started to give up your position. That's the rules. So not only was this hit unnecessary, it wasn't even legally worth it on the field. It wasn't even legally worth it on the field. So in other words, this man got hit and suffered an injury on a play that didn't even matter. It was almost like being on the sidelines. Because at that point where he got injured, the play was already dead. Because of where he initially started to go down. That's where the ball was going to be placed at. So many things fundamentally wrong with the play that it's hard to put the blame on the game. And this is where a lot of these comments are coming from these people because they don't understand. These people are, and their suggestions are coming from emotions, but there was a lot of things fundamentally wrong with what Tua did. especially somebody that has a history like he does of concussions. He should be the first one sliding. He should be the picture of a quarterback sliding. When we look in the rule book and we see a quarterback sliding, you should see a huge full color picture of Tua. His coaches and everybody on that staff should be telling him, as soon as you leave the pocket and you get down, slide. Feet first. There's some coaches that actually practice this. They actually practice that slide with their quarterbacks. But I don't see him doing that. I don't know if I ever seen him slide like that. Which is something that he needs to have in his back pocket. And I'm going to tell you something else. The man played a lot of college football. Do we know if there was any concussions going on back then also? Or are people just looking now just because he's in the NFL now and he's playing on national television and all of a sudden it's visible for everybody? But was everybody following Alabama when he was there? Can Nick Saban tell us anything? Can he tell us anything about these issues that he's having? Because the way he's going down, it almost looks like it's neurological. I'm not a doctor. By no means. I'm not a doctor. But when I watch him, it almost looks like that it just wasn't from football. The way he's going down and the way his body's reacting, it doesn't look like it's just from football. There could be some underlying condition here. I'm not saying that it is. I'm just saying this is our opinion. It looks like something else could be going on there where he may not have having head contact from the very beginning. We don't know that. But the culprit right now and the number one suspect right now is the game of football, just because it's happening on the football field. But I heard many comments and opinions about this, and some say, hey, the hit wasn't even that hard. No, because it wasn't. And that didn't happen just over the last couple of years. That his head didn't just all of a sudden go soft over the last couple of years. If I was in that situation and I was him, I would be looking for something else. I would be looking for, is there something else wrong with me? Is there an underlying condition that I have where I just happen to have, we call it soft heads? Is my head just that soft that, that I shouldn't be having contact? Like, for example, he shouldn't be a boxer either. Because there are some hard-headed guys out here that are, they just head knockers. But for him, he may have been having a situation long before he even started playing football that nobody even knew about. So the first thing that people want to jump on, they want to jump on the football train and concussions and so on and so forth. Every football player that comes into the NFL does not have 100% clean bill of health. Some people come into this game with conditions. There's football players that have beaten cancer. There's football people that have beaten cancer. James Conner had cancer. So I mean, just going on. Everybody looks at these players, and they think that everybody has 100% clean bill of health before they come in the league. So everything that happens is the NFL's fault, which is so unfair. It's so unfair to come to suggest that. Here's the thing. I just want to say something. I want you to hear me clearly when I say this. Because I heard something yesterday on a podcast, and there were two ladies up there and two men. And one of these ladies was suggesting, her undertone was that somebody should step in and basically take this game away from this man. She was saying, her undertone, right? Without saying it. I know she wanted to say it, but she wasn't saying it. She was basically saying that somebody else should get in and make the decision for him. And at that point in time, I knew it was time for us to come out and give our opinion on this. Because not only did I totally disagree with what she was saying, I thought she was absolutely wrong for suggesting that somebody should violate this man's right to do something that she never had 1 ounce of contributing toward. Not 1 ounce. I heard somebody say that we should protect this man from himself. I knew, again, it was time for us to give our opinion. Because if you wanted to protect this man so bad, you would have helped him pay his bill last month. You would have helped him buy groceries for his family. If you cared that much, right? If you cared that much, you would have helped him pay his car note, whether he needed it or not. When you making suggestions about somebody's life, unwarranted, not asked for, you're totally out of pocket. Everybody lives their own life. Everybody does what they want to do with their own life. That's their right. And you don't have the right to take it away from them or even suggest it. And let me tell you why. I heard these ladies talking, right? I know they never played football, and I know they just never understood. I don't think they were married to football players. And I know that they just didn't understand the game of football and what goes on in that locker room, on and off the field, because they were literally saying things that just did not add up to what a football player is really going through and experiencing. It was all emotional. It was based off of emotions. And at the end of the day, it just didn't add up. Let me tell you something. I'm going to start right here. Okay. At the age of 5, now this is coming from a former football player. At the age of 5 and 6 and 7 years old, pee-wee, midgets, whatever, you sign a waiver. Okay? There's waivers being signed about this game of football. What do you think was included in that waiver? Do you think that waiver said that these kids are not getting ice cream after the games for the full season? No. Do you think those kids were signing up because they wanted to play flag football? Do you think as a kid that I signed up for football and walked to practice by myself and leaving my friends that was just hanging out because I wanted to go and have pizza parties? No. I went and signed up for football because it was a contact sport. I loved the game and I wanted to play. If I did not want to play, I would have never went down there and be fitted for a helmet, because that's one of the first things that you get. For me personally, it was a mouthpiece. But then came the helmet. We go through this progression. I remember like it was yesterday being fitted for my shoulder pads. I remember going, walking in that building and all the boxes was around. And you would just go in there and pick the pads that's going to fit you until you, and everybody else, right? You weren't the first one in the building. So you would look at the kids that already fitted. They didn't look like they looked when you first got there. They now are in full uniform, and you're standing in line and you're looking at Billy, Bobby, Ronnie, Mike, Joey, Chris, whoever. You're looking at them, and they're in full pads, and they're the first ones running to the field, and you're so antsy because you can't wait to get in there and get a pair of practice pants and stick the pads in them. Ladies, you have no clue what you were talking about. And if they watch this podcast, they'll know exactly who I'm talking to. You have no clue what you're talking about. We signed that waiver at 5, 6, and 7 years old, right? Because we did not care. We didn't care. We knew that injuries are a part of the game. I'm not letting anybody disrespect the game of football. This is a contact sport. These things are, I'm going to say this. These things have the possibility of happening at any time. Thank God that they don't that often. But the threat of it happening is there. And guess what? Everybody on that field knows it. Those offense and defensive linemen are braced up. They're braced up. They have all, not all, some have experienced the same thing at 5 and 6 years old that everybody else did. We all know that there were waivers being signed. The waiver never came up as in a conversation in my family and nobody else's. None of my friends, nobody I ever played with ever brung up the word waiver. We never sat around and talked to each other and said, yo, can you believe that we have to sign a waiver? No. Nobody ever brung up the waiver. During practice, after practice, or nothing. It's sign here, right here. Mom, sign right here, please. Sign right here. I got to go to practice. Sign right here. Because I know you may not understand this. I may not want to hear it, but we didn't care. And the suggestions didn't stop there, right? As I'm listening to this certain platform. The next suggestion was you should just retire because you have $900 million in the bank and you can live your life comfortably. You made it and you did you have all the finances in the world. You can go buy an island and you can go and just live. Newsflash. Whoever said that it was about money? Whoever told you that the love that he has for this game was about money? He never, listen, the money came and the money was nice. But you got men out here playing rough touch football on Saturdays and Sundays, full contact. Yeah, go look it up. There's some rough touch leagues out here right now, and they playing some serious football. And I'm talking about full contact with no pads on. And they ain't being paid a dime and going to work on Monday. Because they love the game. If you want to see the love for the game of football, go look that up. And let me tell you something. They're not playing 7-on-7 rules. They're not playing 2024 football. These boys is playing 1980s style. The hitting that's going on in the blind side hits that's going on, a blindside hit is not even legal anymore in the NFL with pads on. These boys are doing it with no pads on. They running through the holes, high knees, full, I mean, all out. Instantly had my mouth wide open, eyes wide open. Like, I can't believe this. That's because that's what the love of the game of football can do to a person. And you would only know it if you've experienced it. So to suggest that this man should retire and walk away for money, you're wrong. Because what's going on in his body and in his mind, listen, the money is nice. And it came with the game that he happens to love. He wasn't when he was playing this game as a kid, he was happy to just get to college. If it was all about the money, ladies and gentlemen, where were these opinions when these guys was playing for free in this violent game in college? Where was this brigade then? Obviously, it can't be about the money because they were playing the same sport in college. Where certain schools hate each other. Some of these guys, a lot of these guys now in the NFL are friends. But traditionally, through midgets, junior high school, college, when you put a certain uniform on with a certain color, you dislike the other team. Now, the guy that's on your team may be on the other side. So that's why when the NFL games are over, where you see people out there shaking and mixing it up and people talking, sharing uniforms and so on and so forth. Not when you're in these schools and somebody got a different color uniform on. It's about tradition. And this team then rolled up into your stadium and it's going down. Ladies, you don't know what you're talking about. Let me explain something to you. When somebody loves to do something, the last thing you want to do is take it away from them, right? Or try to, attempt to, or suggest. Because that's what they love to do. And they didn't do it for the money. Would you ask a man in the military to get out of the military because they may go to war? Would you? Would you ask a man in the military? Should we go ask men in the military if this is what they love to do? Should we ask them to give it up? Because the possibility is there that they could end up going to war? Absolutely not. Well, there's no difference in the love that a football player has for the sport of football. And guess what? We are going to war. You can say what you want to say. It's war. I'm telling you what nobody else is saying. Okay? I'm going to tell you what nobody else is saying. Everybody's trying to be politically correct about the situation. Right? But this is the truth. The truth is that every week you go into war in the trenches. That's where the name comes from. You're going to be in the trenches, in the foxhole with your brothers, and we go into battle. The preparation for these games is dominate. No matter what, dominate. So, again, for me, you're clearly out of pocket making these suggestions. Suggestions that he did not ask for. He did not ask for it. He knows in his heart and in his mind what he wants to do. He knows it already. He knows what he wants to do. I'm pretty sure he'll take the proper precautions. I'm pretty sure he'll reach out to the right people and find out. He'll talk to his family. He'll speak to them. But to suggest that this is what he should do based off of what you've seen on television, or based on his history, which we're still not clear about. Because, like I said, there could be something underlying going on here. This may not even just be a football thing. This could have been a thing that where if he had ever gotten into a fight and got hit in the head one time and reacted like that, somebody, you could have actually found out that there could have been an underlying condition. We don't know. We don't know. We know that he's suffered some concussions, but we don't know if that's the cause of what's going on with him after his head's hit like that. Like everybody was saying, that hit was not even that hard. And it wasn't even head to head. And the first thing people saying is, oh, then it's getting worse and worse and worse. No. He could have some type of deteriorating issue going on. That has nothing to do with football, but everybody's going to be blaming on football because that's the sport he plays. It's an unfair assessment, in my opinion. It's very unfair. It's very unfair that when people see this photo right here, right? It's not a photo. It's not a photo that anybody wants to see when we're watching a game of football. But guess what? The ambulance, every game I went to, the ambulance was always there, parked right behind the goalpost. You think that we didn't know that it was a possibility that one of us could have ended up in that ambulance in the back of it? There's an ambulance at every game and people are walking by. Nobody pays attention to it, right? Because we all want to ignore it because nobody wants to end up there. We're hoping that it's a safe, clean game. We're hoping that it's a safe, clean game. But I can tell you one thing. That ambulance is there. It's there at every game. And they're prepared to put somebody in the back if need be. And go straight to the hospital. When I played ball, I remember the ambulance used to park behind the goalpost. They were like not far away. But I mean, the only time I ever paid attention to the ambulance is when I was just walking in and say, oh, there's an ambulance over there. Never thinking that I would be in the back of it. I just wasn't thinking like that. I was thinking about the game and winning. So when we see a picture and we see a photo like this of Tua on the ground here, we think, hey, the easiest culprit to blame it on is football. When he should possibly be checked for another issue, an underlying issue. Because we all have them. The man that he ran into, DeMar Hamlin, had cardiac arrest on the field. Where did that come from? Nobody hit him into cardiac arrest. There was something going on there. But he loved the game, and guess what he's doing? He's playing again. Yeah, he's playing again. You know why? Because he signed that waiver. He knows what's on that waiver. He knows what's on that waiver. But he said, my story is not finished. Listen, you cannot make a decision or a determination like that for somebody. You just can't. It's unfair. It's unfair and it's selfish. It's unfair and it's selfish. If you care, thank you. I thank you that you care for me. I thank you that you care for me. But if I make a decision that I want to play, let me play. Don't say what if this, what if that, what if anything could have happened. I could get detained outside of the stadium. No pun. Tyreek Hill. Anything can happen. I can walk out here and slip on ice and hit my head. Anything can happen. Anything is possible. But we're not going to make suggestions for a player that he should just all of a sudden give it all up. Like, that's not fair. And I'm not going to sit up here and act like we've never seen things before. Does this look familiar? That's Alex Smith. Alex Smith suffered a very gruesome injury, one that almost got his leg amputated. You think he didn't know about the waiver? He knows about the waiver. He knows that it's a possibility. But he loved the game. He didn't sit back there to have them two monsters on him and say, I didn't know that this was a possibility. Are you kidding me? This is not the only contact sport. Are you going to tell a boxer not to box? Are you going to tell a rugby player not to play rugby? No. The people are suggesting this because it's so much money in the NFL. That's the truth. Here we can sit up here and watch UFC, right? And nobody's saying, hey, you should retire. After one fight, all it takes to see in UFC is one fight. People getting punched in the head, bleeding. Are you saying that those people should retire? I mean, people going unconscious. No. It's because the NFL has so much money and it's so popular that people like making decisions for those players. It's unreal. If it wasn't any money involved, let me tell you something. If they really cared about this type of situation or this type of issue, they would have been talking about those guys that I told you about that was playing rough touch and saying that they shouldn't be allowed to play. They shouldn't be allowed to play rough touch. But no, they don't care about them guys and running into each other and all that. They just care about this situation because he's popular. He's popular. Tua's popular. The NFL's popular. Let's talk about it. Let's talk about this big conglomerate. Let's get them to force them to do something. So anytime they have some type of issue or whatever, they want to get the NFL to force the issue. Listen, don't you know they started off with leather helmets? Leather helmets. This game started off with people in leather helmets. The protection is much better than those men had. Things happen. It's a contact sport. And these type of suggestions, I'm telling you, it ruins the game. These type of suggestions ruin the game. The NFL is not $1 billion industry for no reason at all. It's because people like watching it. And I personally don't want to see flag football. That's not why I signed up to do it. That's not what I like watching on television. And I don't want to see anybody saying, listen, you can't tackle the quarterback. I'm sorry. This game is a contact sport, and guess what? The threat of injury is always there. There's always injuries at the end of the game. There's an injury report at the end of the game. I don't want us acting like this is something that we've just started seeing. It's not. It's not. Boom. Joe Theismann. Lawrence Taylor. The man that did it standing right there. That's just two great players playing at the height of their game, and something happened. And something happened. Ask any one of those players. Ask any one of those players that if they didn't know about a waiver when they were a child. When that waiver was signed in midgets and you went and played football the rest of your life, you always knew that possibility was there. Then when you got in high school, they said you had to have insurance. You have to have insurance if you want to play. Can you give me a copy of your insurance card? Like, I mean, they're not asking you that for no reason at all. Every year I played football, there was always somebody that had like a little nick, maybe, or something, or maybe a cast on their foot, a cast on their arm. It's a part of the game. Just because you get an injury, okay, now I know we're talking about his head, but what I'm saying is that injuries are going to happen, and it doesn't mean that that's the end. Everybody has diagnosed this man without even knowing what's really going on. We see something, we see something happening, but like I said, we don't know if football actually caused that. Because the shot that he took was more to like the back of his neck. And it wasn't that hard, but everybody wants to blame it on the concussion thing because of what they've seen previously. And things happen in this game, but to make the suggestion for somebody else on what they should do with their life and with their career, I think is totally wrong. I think it's totally wrong. And I think we shouldn't do that. I think that we should leave it to him and his family, and whatever it is, support it. Because like I said, I can't go to a man that I have never paid his bills. I've never done anything for his family. I've never done anything to say, hey, man, you need to give it up. I don't see anybody walking around here now. You know, they're saying about these issues that other players had, like doing certain things. But like I said, you don't know about underlying conditions. The underlying condition could have been there before that man put a helmet on. It could have been there. We don't know. Let me tell you something. Concussions didn't make that tight end from New England Patriots do what he did. Aaron Hernandez. That didn't make him do what he did. Concussions didn't have nothing to do with what he was doing. He was that guy before he came into football. He was that guy. You can't keep blaming football for everything. Okay? You can't. It's the easiest place to blame somebody there because there's such a large pot of popularity. It's a large pot of popularity. Huge. Now, do things happen? Yes. Is CTE real? Yes. But for every case is different. And I think people are jumping out of the window on this Tua situation. I believe that they are. They go right to the most obvious thing. And I'm telling you, it is of our opinion here that it's a possibility that there could be an underlying condition there that he should check for that could have nothing to do with football. It could have nothing to do with football. It could be a hereditary thing. Look back in your family a little bit, like look for something neurological, like look for something in your spine, look for something. Because he's just not the man. He's a young man. He didn't deteriorate from that one hit just like that. Is he having trouble sleeping? Is he having problems? Is he having headaches? Like what's going on? Got to do the research before we make the reason I'm saying is because you got to do the research before you can make a suggestion that the man should just give it up. He didn't ask us for that. He didn't ask for your opinion. He didn't ask for your opinion. It's just that simple. He didn't do it. And look at this. Amazing. Everybody's probably saying, "Who's that? Who's that right there? Who's that?" Well, let me tell you, that's a great football player right there. A whole lot of them. Whole lot of them. If anybody know, do your research on Darryl Stingley. Do your research on Darryl Stingley. Do your research on Darryl Stingley. Darryl Stingley was paralyzed in the game of football. He suffered a hit. He was paralyzed. It happens, people. It happens. One of the best talents, man. That man was talented. A straight up baller. And he played in an era where they was nasty. He played in an era where hits was nasty. Everything was legal back then. Everything was legal back then. Nobody back there was talking about CTE or none of that. You didn't even hear about it. You didn't hear about none of the players really doing. I didn't hear about any of the players doing what these players are doing now. You didn't hear about it. Now you have all these conditions and all these doctors and all these, everything is blamed on football. Everything is blamed on football. Yet these players are smoking. They smoking more marijuana now than ever. Not everybody, but some are. Some can't even stay in the league from smoking. Random drug tests here to come up with some type of marijuana in their system. You gonna tell me that's not happening? Oh, yes, it is. They will after the game. Random drug test. So and so was out of the league for 2 years because he's smoking marijuana. But yet blaming everything on the game of football. Things happen, but guess what? It's hard to make that determination when you have such cloudy situations going on. We can't just put it on football if marijuana is involved. Not saying everybody's smoking it, but it does happen. Urine's coming up dirty. Ladies and gentlemen, let me tell you something about this picture. You see that baby that's being held in that man's hand? That baby? Well, the man down here to the right that's sitting down with the hat on, right, is the grandfather. That's Darryl Stingley. That baby that's being held is This man. Get him up here. 1 second. Let me show you who he is. Because this is amazing to me. It's amazing to me that people don't understand that, things happen in the game of football. It just does. It just does. And some people are in denial about it and they don't want to see it happening. But guess what? It happens. It happens. And I know some people don't like hearing it, but that's people that just don't understand. That just don't understand. And they don't understand what it's like to go to somebody that they've been doing this all their life. And like I said, it's not even about the money. For some people, it's not even. Listen, there's some people out here right now that'll play this game for free. You hear what I'm telling you? There's some people out here right now will play this game for free. You ain't got to give them a dime. You ain't got to give them a dime. They'll come out there and give you all they got. They'll give you all they got for nothing. If it's a game in the parking lot, they're playing. Isn't that something? If it's a game in the parking lot, if it's a game being played in the parking lot, they'll play in it. If it's a game going on in the backyard, look around your neighborhoods during Thanksgiving time. I don't know about where you are, but I know that there's people that hold games, football games on Thanksgiving. They're just out there playing rough touch. They're just out there playing rough touch, man. Like, I mean, it's something about the game if you played it, and let me just tell you this. Let me tell you this. I heard something else before I pull this before I show you who that baby is, right? I want y'all to know something, right? Here's what's crazy. Here's what's crazy. In football, right? Sometimes these guys, the only family that they have are their teammates. The camaraderie that you have with these people is like family. Not everybody, but many are like family. They're literally like family. Some of these guys just they're like always around the facility. They just always hanging out. Some of them come from, maybe some broken homes. So when you ask them to give up something like that, they don't have nothing. There ain't. It's sad to say sometimes, but some people they don't. I heard somebody say yesterday, a former player, that he thought his life was over after football. He thought his life was over. He literally thought his life was over because he had not, some of these players never had regular jobs. They never had a regular life. They went straight to the highlight. Straight. So that's what I'm saying. So and then it could come down to where, like I said, in a family like this one we see up here with Daryl Stingley, right? And you see Derek Stingley, right? And then that little baby right there, right? Derek Stingley Jr., the best defensive back in the league right now. Right now. Right now. He's the best defensive back in the league. I'm telling you right now, that boy balling. You think he don't know the history of the game and what's possibilities can take place? You think he don't know what happened to his grandfather? Absolutely he does. But he loves the game. He knows about that waiver as a 5-year-old, 6-year-old. But he's not going to let that stop him from going out here and doing what he loves to do. He knows that just because it happened to his grandfather doesn't mean it's going to happen to him. He knows that. He's not going out there with that fear. But every football player knows that it's a possibility that anything can happen on any given Sunday, on any given football field, or any given Saturday, or any given Friday night, or any given Saturday afternoon. They know, or any given Monday night, they know that it's a possibility that something could happen. The problem is that the people on the outside don't understand that we're not thinking about that. And like I told you before, if we were thinking about that, then it means we care, right? Right? So here's the harsh reality that what nobody's telling you. This is the harsh reality, what I'm about to tell you right now. When we signed that waiver at 5 years old, we didn't care. That's the truth. If any of them cared, they would have never signed it as a child. And then at any point after that, if you cared, you could quit or never just get involved in a game at all. The reason you out there going 90 miles an hour, flying up and down the field, is because you don't care. I know that there's a possibility that something could happen to me, but I'm going to make this tackle and I'm sticking my face in there. Period. It's a contact sport. We didn't walk into it thinking that it was flag football. We didn't do that. I'm not going to sit here and let anybody take away from the integrity of the game. Okay? Knock it off. Stop playing. Okay? God bless Tua. I'm hoping for a full recovery. I'm hoping that his health is restored back to 100%. But I'm not going to sit up here and act like Tua's injury is the first injury ever to happen in this game. There's been some bad injuries in this game. And guess what? This is what comes with the game. Injuries. And if anybody going to sit up here and act like it doesn't, and everybody's going to sit up here and act like this is not supposed to happen or don't have the possibility to happen, they're just lying to you. They're just lying to you. You can do anything you can do to try to protect the player as much as possible, but at the end of the day, it's a contact sport. And we like seeing it. I like watching it. I like playing it. Of course, we're not out there to actually hurt anybody or injure. I'm going to use the word injure because we are in the hurting business, but not the injure business. So I don't want this platform that I heard yesterday was saying some very, very interesting things when it comes to this game. And it sounded like it was coming from a place of just of not in the know. That's where it was coming from, in a place of not in the know. This game of football has been what it's been for a long time. It's where it's at for a reason. It's where it's at for a reason because people put in work to make this sport as popular as it is. And then here we got people now, all of a sudden, this is the first time they've seen it, really. They never played a down, and they want to make suggestions on what people should do in this sport. Listen, Tua, brother, I wish you the best. I wish you a speedy recovery. I hope you get back to your feet 100%. And here's what I'm going to say from Scoreboard Keepers. Whatever decision you make, we're going to support you 100%. Period. We're not suggesting anything else other than what you want to do. And anybody that's been through this sport, we know how much you love it. We know you know how you feel. We know if you in it just for the money or not. We don't know. We don't know. We don't know what your goals are. I know some have suggested it, but I know that you love this game of football. I know that you love it. And I know the possibilities of what can happen if it's taken away from a person also. They can have other issues when you start doing things or suggesting things like that. So whatever you do and whatever you decide, we here at Scoreboard Keepers, we're going to support you 100%. And we're not going to suggest anything other than what you decide. That's where we're coming from. We're supporting you 100% on whatever decision it is you make for yourself and your football career and your family. It's just that simple. Many have gotten into this game for various different reasons. Some of us will play for free. So it has nothing to do with money, nothing to do with nothing. You'll probably play that game out in the backyard if you could. So whatever you decide, we know what comes with this game, man. We all know. We all know. Ladies and gentlemen, that concludes this episode of Scoreboard Keepers. Like, share, subscribe, and comment on this video because I sure would like to get some feedback on it and see where people stand. That guy right there up on that photo, Derek Stingley Jr., is a total beast. We know what happened in his family. We know what happened to Joe Theismann. We know what happened to Alex Smith. You know what I mean? There's been some injuries in this game, but like I said, man, the game is a contact sport and it's war. And guess what? It's casualties in war, and we all know it. And at the end of the day, I can sit here and tell you right now that most of the players and most of the people that I've ever been around that have played this sport didn't give a damn about a waiver. Period. Didn't give a damn about a waiver. Sign a waiver, mom. I'm playing. Or I'm playing. You know, that's just what it is, man. That's just the game of football. And you know, if you're just not about this sport, and before I go, I'm gonna tell you something. She said something else too. She said that this was a bad look for the NFL. And I was like, what? What? A bad look for the NFL. And then I realized that at that point, she was just more about the power trip. It wasn't really it didn't come across to me as really being about him. It was about exercising the power of the NFL like they've done on different situations and other issues. And she was like, that was the undertone to her entire like theory about this situation. And I wasn't getting it at all. I wasn't getting it at all. If you guys look around a little bit, I'm not going to mention the platform here, but she was saying some things that was like almost like violating your rights, your human and personal rights. And I'm definitely not for that. I'm definitely not for that at all. A person should be able to do what they want to do when they want to do it, and nobody should be able to stop them. You know what I mean? If it pertains to their personal life and not endangering anybody else, they should be able to do what they want to do. And like I said, We support you, Tua, no matter what you do, bro. Ladies and gentlemen, have a good day. It's been fun. See you on the next episode.